November, Thursday, evening and fog. The lights of a small town like pearl beads sparkle on the black matte material, creating a cozy and calm atmosphere. As usual, I stood on the balcony and smoked, the first cigarette. The second, I let out the smoke that dissolves in the airspace and thus calm myself, looking at the gradually disappearing pale azure patterns. I know bad habits kill, but bad jobs, unstable sleep, and stupid people kill even faster, and one cigarette won't lead me to the pit any faster. At least that's what I believe. After enjoying my tobacco products to my heart's content, I took my time going home, closed the balcony door, and pulled the window shut with a curtain. I recently bought a flashlight. It runs on batteries and charges via USB cord. Very handy, especially knowing how often the lights go out in the city. I pull out my smartphone, 13%, enough to scroll through my Instagram feed, and go to bed. 10 minutes into my slumber, the lights in my room start to flicker. Well, as usual, I'll go turn on the light fixture, I thought, and it was my best decision ever. As soon as I turned on my new acquisition, the light bulb in the room started to flicker restlessly. A second later, it burned out, and the house was plunged into darkness. But not my corner with the light fixture. I turned on my smartphone with a click and was a bit stunned. There was no internet or communication, and on the screen appeared some strange notification from the emergency service. Stay at home. Do not open the windows. There is a state of emergency in the city. There is an emergency situation at the local station. The air is contaminated with toxic fumes and blah blah blah. Interesting, of course, but I didn't have anything serious planned for today. I'm going to lie down. I lay down on my bed, looking up at the beige-colored ceiling, pleasantly lit by my new acquisition. While I was lying down, I wondered how the neighbors were doing. They must have turned it off, so I went to the window, pulled back the curtain a couple of centimeters and got a little dazed. A city where life is boiling everywhere and always, as if it had died out after the apocalypse. The absence of lights, people, even stray dogs and cats and lonely cars on the road created a very unsettling atmosphere. Unaccustomed to such an outcome, I felt uneasy. A slight chill ran down my spine and arms. Okay, I thought. I closed the curtain, and just as I turned my back to the lamp, I heard sounds behind me that sounded like a child's fiddling. I stopped to listen, but the sounds seemed to get farther and farther away, and then came closer and closer, and so on several times. I moved closer to the window, touched the curtain, and at the same moment the noise stopped. I looked at the time on my phone, 4:57. What the hell kind of kids could be playing at 5 in the morning on a cold fall night? As I looked at the time, the light from the screen was slightly hitting the window opening, and it seemed to me that the shadows behind the curtains were unnaturally moving. I tensed up, turned on the flashlight, and pointed it at the window, and oh my God, I couldn't hold back a scream just outside the window. Something like a blob of different shapes, fingers, hands, and feet, some incomprehensible pieces of my body were hanging in the air and were an inch away from the glass separating me and this horror. The creature was like a mollusk, as if it was in the water and moving its body parts smoothly. I slowly began to move away from the window. After a couple of seconds, I heard a light scratching on the glass. It intensified. A moment later, I heard a thumping and slamming, as if it could not decide which of the growths to destroy this barrier. I didn't bother to test my fate, and with a quick movement of my hands, grabbed my phone and ran into the bathtub and closed myself in there. After a minute, the sound stopped, but I heard that nasty childish laughter again, mixed with the whispering of several voices. I sat in the bathroom for a long time, silently trying to realize what had happened, but one thought brought me to my senses, and I would even say panic, because in the kitchen I had put the window on a plastic restrictor so that the draft wouldn't open the door. Before I could think about it, there was another scratching and scraping sound in the kitchen. A moment later, something knocked the window sash and the cork off, and with a sudden movement, its entire weight flew out onto the kitchen floor. I heard an animal roar, followed by muffled laughter, accompanied by some squelching noises. I checked the bathroom door once more. It could only be opened from the inside, so I was safe. I sat with my arms wrapped around my knees and silently prayed that something wouldn't get in here to me. I sat as if in prostration, not realizing where I was in space. I had lost track of time and couldn't tell if it was morning or night. There was not a sound outside the door, but that made me even more tense. I turned on my phone. There was 1% left, and I had forgotten to bring the charger with me. As I looked through the adrenaline rush of time, I saw something glistening under the door with an unnatural whiteness. I turned the phone screen towards the door and just screamed. Screamed like I had never screamed before, because under the door, dozens of mangled, dead, pale fingers were reaching out to me, not making a single sound, but trying so zealously to reach me. A sharp growl followed by a stupid and obnoxious laugh made me wake up and accept the fact that I was awake, and I crawled away from the door and crawled under the tub, hoping that if something kicked the door open, it wouldn't kill me instantly. I wanted to take one last look at the time. It was 6:38, and the next moment the phone went off and there was darkness that swallowed up not so much the visibility of what was happening, but me and my soul, plunging it into the abyss of something dark. I closed my eyes and imagined I was already dead. The light through the single slit at the bottom of the door illuminated the bathtub very faintly. I heard several bangs on my front door, and after one loud and sharp bang, the sound of something heavy and metallic falling to the floor. Human male voices were giving orders very loudly and quickly. I started yelling for them not to shoot, and slowly started to open the bathroom door. A couple minutes later, I was somewhere in a black van, with no license plates and tinted mirrors, all stacked with some kind of wires and diodes, accompanied by two tall men in black uniforms with machine guns. A couple of days after these events, I found out that I was the only survivor of my apartment complex. All 5,500 people were found torn to pieces in their own rooms without a single hint of breaking and entering. Something sinister spared no one, no women, no old people, no children. And it all began when, after a brief accident at the train station, our entire town was plunged into darkness. The scariest thing for me was that all over the country, people started finding dismembered corpses of people after sudden power outages in homes, and the security services could not find any evidence that any person was involved, and this continues to this day. I no longer sleep without the lights on, or if there are no steel doors in the room, and sometimes I think that when I wake up, I hear somewhere far away this childish fiddling. It's like it's following me and doesn't want to let go because I've seen so much.